We do it on video so it's transparent.
We got the Pure NDM2 27 ounce short barrel. What we got here, half ounce, full ounce?
Full ounce, Dad.
Full ounce, yes, Dad.
Full ounce of Inload, 240 stamp, 12-inch barrel. Not just a short barrel. Advertised 12-inch barrel. Thanks to our guy Joshua Stubbs for getting us a solid hookup on this unit. Let's see what it can do. Hey, I'll even show you. It says right here, game ready.
You're sure that's not 12.37?
I bet on a scale, this is a 27. If it's 26.9, I'm sending it back. All right, so here we go. The last of the reviews for 2021. Yes, I understand it's 2022. Just chill out. I wanted to get this one done, and then I'm going to be releasing the best bats of 2021. We'll do the ASA, and then we'll do the U-Trip. I'm probably going to do them in 2 separate videos. But enough about that. We're here to talk about the Pure NDM2. Back on the field here that you guys have seen a few times this year. It's 300 all the way around with a monster in left field. I believe somebody corrected me in the podcast and said it's like 16 feet tall. So I'm going to take their word for it. And we're hitting a mix of mostly hard stuff. There's some Dudley Thunder ZN Pro M's, some Evil Classic M's, some Evil BP Rockets, and there's some Evil NSA Icons mixed in here as well. There is a handful of 52s, but for the most part, we are hitting the hard stuff just to see what this thing would do if we threw the kitchen sink at it right from the jump. This is approved for NSA, ISA, and U-SA play with the new 240 stamp, and as you saw, it was brand new when we got started. This 27 ounce with the full ounce of Inload did feel really good. If you saw my NDM1 review, you knew that kind of one of the complaints I had was it just felt a little bit too light, but Josh took care of me when he reached out to get this thing to me and made sure that we got exactly what we wanted. Big shout out to him again. So the 27 ounce felt like money. The full ounce of Inload was big but smooth. I did enjoy that you still got that Inload drive, but it was still very smooth. The sweet spot on the 12-inch barrel was actually a little bit more towards the end of the bat, which was kind of interesting, and it felt like most of the 240s have this year. It was stiff if you did miss, but as long as you stayed on the sweet spot, it did treat you really well, and it sounded good, it hit well. I was enjoying this bat quite a bit. Now this one does feature a composite handle, and I will say that I would have really liked to see where this bat would have been with an alloy handle. The composite handle wasn't like whippy or had like a weird feel to it or anything. It just, I feel like something like this, as stiff as the barrel was, you needed to have a stiff handle to go along with it. If that kind of makes sense, it's almost like the stiff barrel and the feedback would come through the composite handle and just give like a weird feel. Every ball felt the same, whether you hit it or whether you hit it on the screws. So, I mean, that wasn't bad in that regard, because at least you're not getting your hands burned if you absolutely miss on a ball. That's probably the only complaint I had with this bat, though, I will say that. And I also think the other part of it, too, is just being kind of a one-piece guy when it comes to the Pures. Ain't nothing wrong with being picky. Let's jump over to the lab real quick and look at the scale and the compression tester, and then we'll come back to the field. Oh, missed it. So on a scale, this thing came in at 26.8, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm mad. No, I'm just kidding. So, again, I don't make a huge deal out of scale weights. I did make the joke in the beginning of the video that if it weighed under 27.0, I was going to send it back. So many people lose their minds about scale weights and what a bat should weigh compared to what its sticker is. Like, in all seriousness, you would not know this thing was 0.2 ounces from being a 27.0. You'd have picked it up and thought, man, this feels like a 27. Not once would you have thought, oh man, this thing is 0.2 ounces too light. People get way too hung up in that stuff. The weight distribution in the bat is really what dictates how the thing feels anyway. But people live and die by scale weights is the only reason I put this stuff in here for you guys. And moving on to the compression tester here real quick. I did drop the ball. I forgot to test this when it was new, but Josh told me it should have came in around the 270 to 280 mark if I do remember correctly. And it's basically right on the 240 line. But considering the amount of swings we put on this, being it was a cooler day and we hit pretty much nothing but hard stuff, I did expect to see this come down that fast. But you've got to think, 3 guys beating on it on a cooler day with a bunch of hard stuff, that's really not terrible for a game-ready bat. Keep that in mind. This thing is going to be game-ready out of the wrapper, and I did feel that it was. Lab stuff out of the way, back to the field.
Humble brag.
So once we got a feel for this thing, it was a pretty good time. This is definitely ranking up there as far as like top tier performing U-trip bats go. But I will say that comparing the NDM1 to the NDM2, I do prefer the NDM1, and performance was almost identical between the two. I just prefer the one-piece feel when it comes to the Pures. But don't take that away from the fact that this thing is still BP Hero approved. When they say game ready, they mean it. Literally within like 10 swings, I thought to myself, okay, we can put this thing in the bag and just save it for games. If I had to play somewhere where I had to swing a 240, this is definitely something I would consider having in the bag for a game. But I really did enjoy this bat. Thanks to Josh for sending it out to us. This thing was a complete package. The short barrel, the big end load. And like I said, I did kind of harp on the composite handle a little bit, but it still wasn't terrible. Just preference-wise, I would prefer something like this to have an alloy handle to it, but the composite handle still did just fine. The big end load was able to drive the ball well. I still felt like I could control this thing fairly decent. Now, I will say that they do talk about the grip finish on the barrel, and personally, I spin the ball a lot anyway, so I don't see a ton of, maybe extra spin with it. Maybe if anything, I might see a little bit of like side spin, or maybe kind of like a little bit of funky spin to it. Maybe like a side spin or a tail or something like that, because I'm already applying enough backspin. So if I'm pulling my hands off the ball, you will see a little bit of like side spin or tail or anything funky like that. But I didn't feel a huge benefit from it. Brian tried putting a few cut swings on a ball just to see what it would do, and he said he noticed it a little bit. So maybe if you're not somebody that does cut the ball a ton, then you would notice it. I personally didn't, and I did just want to mention that before anybody asks about it. So I do hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks to Josh for sending this out. Thanks to the boys for coming out and hitting. Swing hard in case you hit it. BP Hero, catch you next time. Still though, like,
See how that one hung up? I got 3.
I missed. Yeah, you get that.
Not quite.
No. Alright. Alright.
Did we go 2 for 2? 2
Hey!
for 2, baby! Yay! First time ever. Good cut. Let's see if he can do it again. He did. He did. Attaboy.
Woohoo!
Thought it was.
There's that spot.
Yeah. Trying to cut them, as you can tell. I know
That's
I'm
good.
chopping hard. I'm trying to see if I can get one to spin up real hard.
Hanging good. 5.
I shouldn't have swung at that pitch. This thing, I love it. And it's still 240.